While waiting in a line during Mardi Gras, a graduate student from Tulane University expressed her views regarding Israel and Palestine. She said that all of the students in Tulane's graduate school programs are pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel. When asked about October 7th Hamas atrocities, she defended it by deflecting to 1948, in which, according to the anti-Israel narrative, Arabs were forced out from Palestine. Even if this narrative were true, she was asked if committing murder, kidnapping, sexual crimes, mutilation, and other atrocities against civilians, including babies, can ever be justified. She answered by saying that pro-Israel Americans are privileged and have no idea about Palestinian suffering. She was asked, how are the pro-Palestinian American protesters not privileged, including the many that attend prestigious, expensive American colleges and universities? She was asked again if anything can ever justify the atrocities Hamas committed against civilians, including babies, women, girls, defenseless people, on October 7th. Again, she deflected. There are things in this world that are black and white, no shades of gray. Murdering, sexually abusing, kidnapping, committing atrocities are indefensible. Victimhood and grievances do not legitimize atrocities. Murder, sexual abuse, kidnapping, mutilation, atrocities are cruelty, not resistance. The anti-Israel crowd is absolute in blaming Israel for everything and holding Arabs responsible for nothing, including the flight of Arabs from the 1948 war. The Arabs that did not flee from Israel are now 20% of Israel's population with full and equal rights. In 1948, Israel was attacked by Arab armies and Arab militias within Israel. Arab armies from the outside, Arab militias within Israel. This was a war that Arabs, not Israelis, started. Most of Israel's population are Jews from the Middle East and North Africa and their descendants, where many of these Jews were ethnically cleansed and forced to flee to Israel. On lands where Jews had lived for centuries, even for thousands of years, there are no longer Jews. The existing Palestinian cause is not about creating two states or even one state of different peoples, including Jews and Arabs, living in harmony. It is instead about slaughtering Jews and creating a Jew-free Palestine, the name for a country that never existed. The woman was asked directly that if a two-state solution is not acceptable to her and her crowd, then what about one state, and Israel-Palestine or Palestine-Israel, where Jews and Arabs share the land? Even this was not acceptable to her. Long before Israel existed, there were massacres of Jews in lands across the Middle East and North Africa, including all over British-controlled Palestine and what is now Israel. The Jews of Israel, Israel's majority population, are Jews that survived the ethnic cleansing and massacres of Jews throughout the Middle East and Africa, and also the Holocaust in Europe. These Jews had their lands and property stolen from them. They do not use this as an excuse to murder the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of the ones that did this. The effort to exterminate Jews never ended with Hitler. The head mufti of Jerusalem, an ally of Hitler and relative and inspiration for Arafat, wanted the genocide to spread to the Jews of Palestine and across the Middle East, a sentiment still widely held across the Middle East and elsewhere. Hitler lost the war finally, but the effort to exterminate Jews never ended. The Jews in Israel, from Iraq, Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Egypt, Algeria, Iran, and more, know that they have no home except for Israel. Their descendants know that nothing awaits them in the lands where their parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents escaped. Nothing awaits them in those lands, only death and persecution. A person truly concerned about Arabs, including the Arabs now called Palestinian, would insist it is enough of the violence, war, hate, terror, and demonizing. Jew and Arab are stuck with one another on a small piece of land just because countless millions hate Jews and want to see Jews slaughtered does not make the destroy Israel cause right. The woman complained about Israel bombing Lebanon. She was told if Hezbollah did not shoot rockets and artillery shells into Israel on October 7th, that would never have happened. Lastly, in a world full of real genocide and terrible atrocities, including genocide right now occurring in the Sudan, horrific atrocities in Syria, Yemen, Somalia, DRC, Myanmar, North Nigeria, and in many more places, no one cares because there is no Jew to blame. Palestinian Arabs get center stage not because their suffering is greater than that of hundreds of millions of people that suffer in war zones, extreme poverty, famine, and more, but because their enemy is the Jew, and therefore Palestinianism is used as the cover for an ancient pathological demonic hatred.